What if the most unexpected celebrity in the world, renowned for her amazing voice, had a tragic past that almost put a stop to her career before she ever sung a note? Susan Boyle's ascent to stardom is legendary, yet underneath her alluring on-screen personalities is a tale of loss, sadness, and enduring pain. How did a depressing lady from a little Scottish village, struggling with social rejection and mental health issues, win over millions of hearts? The answer lies in the road that gave rise to her unique voice and nearly kept her identity a secret from the public. The tale of Susan Boyle serves as a potent reminder that sometimes the brightest stars may rise out of the deepest darkness. After her incredible 2009 Britain's Got Talent performance, Susan Boyle's name was immediately linked to rapid celebrity. However, her story goes beyond her ultimate achievement. Her lowly beginnings and the difficulties she encountered as a young child provide an image of strength, tenacity, and an unwavering spirit. Boyle's tough and resilient upbringing equipped him for the amazing voyage that lay ahead of him. On April 1, 1961, Susan Magdalene Boyle was born in Blackburn, West Lothian, a tiny Scottish community. She was the youngest of 9 children born into a military family during World War II to shorthand typist Bridget Boyle and miner Patrick Boyle. Her family's strong Catholic views had a big influence on her upbringing. Living in Blackburn, a working-class town, the Boyles were a typical working-class family. The Boyle family was warm and loving even though they had a modest lifestyle and usually had little money. Susan's parents were devoted to their family and, in spite of their financial struggles, made sure that their children were reared in a caring environment. Susan had a musical bent from a young age. When her mother saw how gifted her daughter was, she encouraged her to sing. Susan was profoundly touched by Bridget, who instilled a passion of music and self-assurance in her abilities. When words didn't seem enough, Susan turned to music as a way to escape her problems and express herself. For Susan Boyle, there were challenges throughout her childhood. From an early age, she had obstacles that set her apart from other children. Due to oxygen deprivation, Susan struggled socially and intellectually from an early age, leaving her with a mild learning disability. Because of her learning handicap and quiet, introverted disposition, she found school to be very challenging. Social bullying, in which they poked fun of her deviations, was something she experienced on a regular basis. For the most part of her school career, Susan encountered the harsh and unforgiving nature of children. For a very long time, the nickname Simple Susan hurt her self-esteem since it was a painful reminder of how other people perceived her. Despite everything, Susan found solace in her family and faith. She gained a lot of strength, particularly from her mom. Susan Boyle's mother, Bridget Boyle, was a strong-willed person who encouraged her daughter to pursue her passion for singing. Susan's mother's unwavering support helped her persist even when it seemed like everything was against her. Throughout her life, Susan Boyle consistently turned to music for joy and a way to communicate with the outside world. From a young age, she was enthralled by the sounds of hymns, popular songs, and classical music. She had a distinctive voice even as a little child. Her habit of singing along to records or the radio at home led her family to quickly discover she had talent. Susan's first public performance was when she was 12 years old, when she performed "I Don't Know How to Love Him" from the musical Jesus Christ Superstar at a neighborhood talent show. Despite not winning, the event changed her life. She made the decision to take singing more seriously because it was her first time performing in front of an audience. She was gifted with singing because of her commitment in the church. Susan often sang in the choir at her Catholic church, where the Boyles were also involved. She discovered that the church provided a secure haven where she was valued and welcomed. Singing in the chorus offered her a feeling of purpose and connection that went beyond simply enhancing her voice. The Boyle family was close-knit even though they were having financial difficulties. When Susan was growing up, some of her siblings had already moved out of the house, and she was older than them. Nevertheless, her family didn't stop helping and protecting her. Given her hardships, Susan's parents in particular were keen to make sure she had a traditional upbringing. Susan's life was propelled forward by Bridget Boyle. Strong and resolute, Bridget refused to let her daughter's limitations define who she was. Even if it meant going up against the educational establishment, she battled for Susan's education and made sure she received the assistance she needed. In addition, Bridget encouraged Susan to participate in talent events at the church and in the community. Although Patrick, Susan's father, was a more private man, he was as important to her upbringing. He put in a lot of overtime as a miner to support his family, and Susan was always pleased with his conscientious work ethic. Susan's taste in music and her passion for singing were considerably fostered by Patrick's love of music, especially opera. Susan Boyle persevered in pursuing her goal of becoming a vocalist in spite of obstacles. But achieving this objective wasn't a simple route. She held a number of menial jobs that never satisfied her after leaving school without a diploma. Although she believed that music was her genuine love, she didn't think she could follow it as a career. With the little money she had in her early 20s, Susan paid for singing lessons. She also tried out for many local talent competitions, but she was never accepted. Susan's timid disposition and lack of confidence made it challenging for her to succeed in the competitive music industry. But Susan's passion for music remained unwavering. She kept giving performances in the community, frequently singing at social events and fundraisers. She became increasingly well known in her community as a result of the positive feedback her performances got. Professional singing still seemed like a distant fantasy. Susan Boyle's faith was fundamental to her life. It gave her fortitude in trying circumstances. The Boyle family was a devoted Catholic family, and their religious beliefs informed all aspects of their life. Susan overcome her obstacles because her faith gave her solace and direction. Susan spent her whole childhood and adulthood participating in religious activities. Prayer and strength from her religious group provided her with comfort. She found great resonance in the church's teachings, especially with regard to the emphasis placed on fortitude and faith in God's plan. Later on, her capacity to handle the demands and difficulties of popularity would be greatly influenced by her religious convictions. Susan Boyle's early years were characterized by love, perseverance, and unwavering belief in her own abilities despite her difficult background. Her enthusiasm may have been easily diminished by the challenges she encountered, such as harassment and academic disappointments. But Susan's steadfast faith and her family's support, especially from her mother, helped her to endure. Her early years were filled with hardships, but her love of music provided her with direction and comfort, serving as a ray of hope. Susan Boyle's early experiences prepared her for the amazing adventure that would ultimately make her a household name around the world, despite the long and difficult route to success. Her experience serves as a tribute to the value of support, the strength of tenacity, and the long-lasting effects of a mother's love. The loss of her parents was one of Susan Boyle's biggest grief. At the age of 91, Bridget Boyle, her mother, passed away in 2007. Bridget had a big influence on Susan's life and was always there to help and uplift her, especially when it came to her love of singing. They were quite close, and Bridget's passing left a huge hole in Susan's life. Susan was taking care of her aging mother while still residing at her childhood home in Blackburn, Scotland. For Susan, Bridget's passing marked a sea change in her life. Because she was depressed, she used to cut herself off from a lot of things in life. Still, she couldn't help but think of her mother, who had urged her to submit an application to Britain's Got Talent back in 2009. Susan continued by saying that she felt Bridget would have pushed her to try out and that she wanted to live up to her mother's expectations. Her rendition of I Dreamed a Dream became widely viral, catapulting her into the public eye. She was also greatly affected by her father's passing that occurred a few years earlier in the 1990s. The death of her companion, World War II veteran and miner Patrick Boyle, devastated Susan even more. Another unfortunate part of Susan Boyle's life has been her protracted battle with social isolation and bullying. Susan received a lot of peer criticism as a child because of her academic struggles, which was later linked to her diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome. A sense of estrangement and low self-worth resulted from the profound emotional wounds caused by this assault. Boyle struggled with the demands of public life, such as dealing with unfavorable media coverage and adjusting to her newfound celebrity status, even after her rise to fame. She experienced worry and stress as a result of the intense attention and abrupt change in her life brought about by her success, which culminated in a well-publicized breakdown soon after the Britain's Got Talent finals. Susan Boyle has been struggling with her mental health for a long time due to a variety of factors, including bullying, personal loss, and the pressures of her media profile. She has been transparent about how her anxiety and depression bouts have gotten worse since being diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. She went through a very difficult emotional phase as a result of the abrupt transition from a tranquil private existence to one of international renown. Susan has also been open about the links between her physical and mental health issues, as seen by her type 2 diabetes diagnosis from 2015. Her already tough lifestyle is made more difficult by the need to constantly check it in order to manage her sickness. Despite suffering tragedy all her life, Susan Boyle has demonstrated amazing fortitude in the face of hardship. Important elements of her biography include the death of both of her parents, especially her mother, the fallout from the bullying she endured as a youngster, and her battles with mental health. Susan Boyle has surmounted these obstacles by putting her inner fortitude and skill to use. Her music has given her purpose and comfort, and she has inspired millions of people worldwide with her story. Susan Boyle's tale demonstrates that even in the face of the worst catastrophes in life, intelligence and perseverance may reach previously unthinkable heights. Her narrative is a tribute to the power of goals and the human spirit's tenacity. Susan said, "I've learned that you can go from being a nobody to a somebody in an instant, but it's the journey that truly defines you." People's memories of her voyage will last forever.